Hello and welcome to the second, episode here of this channel. And right now we're going to be covering some of the recent transfer news as the January transfer market has just ended for AC Milan and for the rest of Serie A. We're going to kind of go over some of the transfers in and out of Milan, give them a rating as far as the inward transfers go, and just kind of talk a little bit about my opinions and thoughts on the different transfers, whether they were good, whether they were bad, and go from there. Okay, so we're going to start actually with the leaving players. So first off, we have Pepe Reina leaving. He goes to Aston Villa on loan. This is an incredibly smart move, financially and fiscally, due to his very high salary, and I believe it was somewhere around $6 million. I'm not exactly positive, but it was a very high salary, and for a backup to be making that much is just too much for the current state of Milan. So that was a very good move here. He's been a good keeper in his time here, can step in, but I mean, a player that age, that salary, who's barely playing, is just really not worth it. And I'm not sure how much worse Antonio Donnarumma is than Pepe Reina right now at this stage, so really a no-brainer there. Next up would be Fabio Borini. This one I actually do not think was a good transfer. We let him leave on a free transfer. I think that was very dumb of Milan to do. I mean, at least get a couple million for the guy, or just keep him. He's incredibly versatile, and something that we desperately lack is depth. He can play either side of the ball. He can play forward. He can play side back. He can play winger. And we're in a 4-4-2 right now. And something that we drastically lack is depth. We really don't have that much depth in almost any of our positions. And he could play up top in the 4-4-2. He could be left side, right side. Truthfully, I just think that this was a silly way to offload his wages, which weren't too high, and we just lost out on a good player who always fought hard for the team, and we didn't even make money off of this. So I actually think that this is one of the worst transfers, only overshadowed by one other transfer, which I will get to next. The other, and for me, the worst outgoing transfer of our entire market was Mattia Caldara. We have given Atalanta back a player who was a top-notch player for them. He had his fair share of injury spells at Milan and never really realized his potential because of it. And he was just getting back to full fitness. He was starting to train with the Primavera team and starting to actually, get some match time minutes and whatnot. But Pioli wasn't giving him a real chance now. He wasn't letting him play in a few matches and try to rediscover his old form. So we just go ahead and loan him to Atalanta with an option to buy at $15 million. This is a player who I believe we bought for, was it either 35 or 40 million back from Juventus when we swapped him for Bonucci. And now we are giving Atalanta a scot-free 18-month loan. So they have 18 months, a year and a half, to decide if Mattia Caldara can regain his form. And guess what, guys? If he does, he was one of the top few center backs in all of Serie A. So if he regains his form, he's going to go right back up to that $40 to $50 million in evaluation, and they're going to buy him for $15 million. This is a very strange move, and I don't like it because of what it says about the two clubs. It's basically like Atalanta was the big club here, and they were bossing around Milan and telling them, what the deal was. And Milan just said, okay, fine, he doesn't really want to stay here, so take him for this awful deal. By far one of the worst transfer moves we have made in a long time, and in my opinion, the worst transfer of our entire winter block, incoming or outgoing. By far the worst transfer. Next, we have Ricardo Rodriguez. This one is a loan to PSV if they redeem the option to buy at $6 million. I don't really get why he's so cheap these days. I mean, he's not a bad player. I know that he's kind of lost a lot of his steam at Milan, but I mean, $6 million for the guy. I don't know what we bought him at. I think it was somewhere near $20 million. And I mean, he's not that old. He's a solid player. Is he Theo Hernandez? No. But is he $6 million player? No way. So I also think that here we're suffering because Milan is doing so badly right now. Our players are being devalued, and I think we just offloaded too soon. So this one is kind of hit or miss. Yeah, maybe just get rid of him. It's fine. I don't think this one is too bad, too good. It's right in the middle, but I still think that we should have either held on to him or gotten a little bit more money for him if possible. He's still a decent backup. He could play in a three-man defense if needed, or he can be the backup to Theo Hernandez. who is not going to be able to play every single game, especially if he gets injured. Next are the last two here, and probably the biggest moves here, the biggest names, Suso and Piatek. So Suso, loan with option to buy to Sevilla for around $25 million if they redeem it, and it becomes mandatory if they qualify for the Champions League this year, which currently they are in Champions League position. So it's possible that Suso does get sold for $25 million, and I actually think that that's a pretty fair price for the guy. He was having a lot bigger evaluations earlier in the summer. He was somewhere around $40 million. I think that we should have just offloaded him in the summer and probably taken $35 million for him. That's kind of what I was pushing for at the time, but lo and behold, I'm just a random guy. I have no actual pull over at AC Milan. So $25 million, I do believe that it is undervalued once again due to his poor form this year, as well as Milan overall's poor form. So I think this one's fine. It's kind of a good, fair, average price here. I do think that we could have gotten more earlier in the year if we would have sold him in summer, but this one's fine. Krzysztof Piatek as well. This one I'm actually okay with as well. I think that, it's a little bit difficult to sell him when we don't really have the proper backup at this point, which is my biggest gripe here. And he's a guy who I believe if he gets the proper service, he's going to do great. I don't believe he's the world beater that everybody thought he was. He just doesn't have a lot of that skill. He's a poacher who has good finishing, and that's about it. I don't think that he was or will be world class. I think he's going to be a very good striker. I actually hope that he does really well in the Bundesliga, and personally, I think it's going to be a better league for him in general. Hopefully, he can start rebuilding his career there and do a good job. I do think we still could have gotten more for him. I believe we paid around 30-something million for him, and we're selling him for around $24 million. That's fine. It's not a huge loss. It's okay. My biggest gripe is that we sold him without replacing him. There were links with Andrea Petagna, who I thought would have been perfect because Ibra's 38. He cannot play every single game. If he gets injured or goes down, we have no focal point anymore in the attack. Rafael Leao cannot do it. He's not a striker like that. He's more of a center forward. He can play out wide, drift on the inside sometimes too, or he plays off of that main central focus striker like Ibrahimovic. Petagna would have given us that nice second option, and right now we don't have one. So I don't know if everybody's up to date on the last game, but against Hellas Verona, when we didn't have Ibrahimovic and we crucially needed to win this game, we were lost in attack. We didn't have anybody to actually finish all the good moves that were made, and that was 100% because there was no focal point, no Ibra, no Piatek, no Petagna. So while I do think that Piatek's time was to leave, I don't think he should have left if we didn't have a proper backup for striker. So leaving transfers, I believe, are kind of hit or miss. In general, I'm actually relatively more negative on them. I think that we could have either gotten more money for a couple of those players, and they were just downvalued because Milan had been doing so poorly. And the Kadara and Borini transfers, I think, were just awful. I don't think that those were smart moves at all. We're getting a couple of salary wages off of our books, but we're losing a lot because of it. Next, we'll just go over the 5 kind of bigger incoming transfers that we made. First and foremost, Ibrahimovic, and these ones I will give ratings to. Obviously, this is the biggest news of any Milan fan. This has kind of been the one that's been the most over the airwaves since the transfer market started. He's 38. He's still Ibra. He still has class. No, he's not going to be as athletic as he was before. No, he's not going to put in as many goals as he was before. He's not going to be able to outrun people. He will still be able to outmuscle them. His feet are not going to be as quick, but he still has that presence of mind. He has great skill with his feet still. He's still strong, good in the air. And most importantly, he has characteristics that this Milan team just does not have. It's funny that out of everybody on this Milan team, absolutely nobody has really won anything. So Ibra is the first signing we actually made. We're actually bringing in a legitimate champion again. This Milan team has 0 champions, which is ridiculous for a team of AC Milan's caliber. So it's nice to have a champion back. It's nice to have, I pretty much call him a man amongst boys, and you're going to see this with players like Leao and with the kind of younger players who are going to look up to Ibra. Like, they need that on-field father figure, because off the field is one thing, but on field they need a leader, and that's what Ibra is going to be. He has class, he's got charisma, he has a ton of character, which not a lot of this Milan team has, and he is an actual champion. So this signing I actually rate a 9 out of 10. Not because he's going to be the most amazing Ibra that we've ever seen, but it's because of the value that he's going to be able to give this Milan team in the dressing room and on the field as a leader. Next up is Simon Kjaer, who has been captain of the Denmark national team. He came from Sevilla as well. I like this signing a lot. I think it's because he's more of a smart, tactical, positionally sound leader who's also a defensive leader. Romagnoli has been forced to play with the likes of Matteo Musacchio for a while, Christian Zapata, who played very similarly. They're very athletic. They fight really hard, but they make silly mistakes. They're out of position. They lose their man. They kind of lose focus here and there. Simon Kjaer is not that type of player. He's not very fast. He's not a great athlete, but he's pretty solid. But he's just a much better positionally sound, calm, controlled defender. And I believe that we're going to see him get the start much more than we're going to see Musacchio. I believe there is a place for Musacchio. It's maybe against those teams that have a little more of a kind of speedier physical presence. Sure, you can maybe start Musacchio, but for the most part, Kjaer is just going to be a smarter and better choice. So while I don't think this is, the center back signing that we were all waiting for, I think this is a very smart part-time signing that's going to get us by for a little while. And I really wish that we would have kept Caldara, because having Caldara, Gabbia, as well as Musacchio kind of backing these two up, I thought that would have been very, very solid. Next is going to be Asmir Begovic. This is the goalkeeper that we have brought in from the Premier League. I forget exactly which team he was on. I believe maybe Bournemouth or something. I'm not exactly positive. I'm probably wrong with that. But the main thing is that it was a financial move and an experience play. We kind of wanted a backup like Pepe Reina, who was experienced, has had play at high levels, and who could just step in and kind of be that good backup and still sort of a mentor and still push Gianluigi Donnarumma a little bit. Begovic is going to do just that, and his salary is far less than Pepe Reina's. So this was a pure financial play, and I think that it's a great signing just for that reason. Next up, we're actually bringing back Diego Laxalt at left back, because the transfer for Anthony Robinson, the American left back, did not go through at the last stages here. Tough to say exactly why it didn't go through. There were rumors that his home club kind of wanted to restructure the deal, versus the other rumors saying that Milan had to run more tests and there just wasn't enough time in the transfer window. Who knows what the real story is, but I thought that would have been a pretty smart signing, a low-risk signing and high-potential player. That being said, I actually think that just bringing back Laxalt since Ricardo Rodriguez left is actually a smarter play. We're not spending any salary. We're not buying him. We're just bringing him back from loan from Torino, and he's just there to deputize for Teo Hernandez. It's smart financially, which is exactly what we're trying to do since the financial fair play rules have gone into effect. And I believe we're trying to clean house so we can get prepared for some big moves this summer. So I actually think this is the smartest play that we could have made. Just bring back Laxalt. He's solid. He's not amazing, but he'll do okay. And then finally is going to be Alexis Salamakers. He is a young player here who was brought over, and it's going to be, I believe it's $3.5 million for the loan, and there's an extra option to redeem it for a further $3.5 million if we do want to redeem it. So somewhere around $7 million total, or euros. I forget which one it was. But either way, I really like this signing because there's a lot of potential here. He's young, and he's very versatile. He can play left-sided, right-sided. He can play midfield, further up on the wing as well, or he can play back at side back, which we saw him come on at right back during the Hellas Verona game, and he did quite well because he was able to kind of be a little more of an attacking threat. So it's curious to see what happens with Salamakers, and there is a possibility that he ends up transitioning to being more of a right back, and he starts beating out Andrea Conte and Davide Calabria, but we will see. The good news here is that because we don't have Suso anymore, we desperately needed a backup for Samu Castillejo because our team is so thin at that right midfield spot. we had one person who could play it, Castillejo, and now it's Suso gone. So this was a very smart signing. I think at least it leaves us so we're not incredibly sparse. We still are very light on depth, and that's a big problem, but this was a smart signing. So far, incoming transfers: Ibrahimovic, 9 out of 10. Simon Kjaer, I believe, 7 out of 10. Salamakers, 6.5 out of 10 due to the potential he has and the versatility. He's kind of like a different Borini. Asmir Begovic, 6.5 out of 10 due to the financial and just experience play here. And Diego Laxalt, 6 out of 10. I actually think that that's a solid move to bring him back. Very smart. So overall, a good incoming transfer window here. I really would have liked to see us bring in another striker like Andrea Petagna to be that backup point man, or to even start if Ibrahimovic isn't pulling his weight. And I would have liked to see us get a midfielder. That being said, I'd rather have us hold out till summer and maybe make a big splash for my top pick. I really like Sandro Tonali. I think he's been great for Brescia, and I think that Tonali, being a Milan fan, I would love to see him here and partner Benacer in midfield and form a long-term partnership for this Milan team. That would be great. So if we're doing that, I'm all for it. But I doubt it, because Milan seems to not really go towards the Italian players anymore, which is kind of a bummer since that is a big part of their history. So overall, I think it was a generally positive transfer mercato, but I would have liked to see a little bit better job done on the leaving players, and maybe 1 to 2 more players brought in for depth on the incoming players. So we will see what happens here in the future. The next podcast or the next video that I'm going to make will be more of a tactical suggestion here, that I'll go over how the new signings I believe would fit. Thank you for joining me today, and hopefully you enjoyed this kind of analysis, review, and ratings of the January transfer window for Milan. If you like this, please subscribe, and I will be back for the next one. Take care.